you're all very welcome to The Takeaway with Chicago Town Pizza, sponsors of all our Six Nations coverage here on Balls.ie. Be sure to get your Chicago Town Pizza in for the games at the weekend. My name is Maura Trasney-Rule and I'm delighted to be joined by former Grand Slam winner Gordon Darcy. How are you today?
Not too bad. Maura Tras, how are you?
Good. So, Gordon, we thought we had gotten away with it. We thought we had a clean bill of health after round one. We were riding high after a great victory in Dublin, but now we've been dealt a huge blow that Johnny Sexton is out.
Yeah, probably not the news we wanted this week, although I think Philip, I think it was Philip Sant-André was suggesting that maybe Ireland were better without
maybe
Johnny.
He knew something we didn't.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's going to put an awful lot of scrutiny under the Irish attack philosophy, and it looks like they were moving away from being overly reliant on Johnny. So we'll see with Joey coming in. I think it's just the disruption coming into this week is probably the biggest disappointment for all the players, because Johnny would have played for the majority, trained for the majority of the week, and then got injured on Thursday. So Joey's had very little team and time in the team, but listen, we know his quality, so hopefully not that disruptive.
Yeah, it's his first Six Nations start tomorrow, and he's only returning after an injury, so we don't know how he is because he hasn't had a lot of game time. How equipped do you think he is for this challenge?
Oh, listen, he has to be. He's the great white hope in Ireland. So we need him to be fit, and we probably need him to play 80 minutes. So he's going to have to hit the ground running. He's suited to the game we're playing. So if the forwards play the way they have been playing, it should be okay. The type of role that he's playing, and the way we're playing, he should be okay.
Well, the French are ready and waiting, and I'm sure licking their lips with the news that Johnny is out. And to give us an insight into how Fabien Galtier's charges are set up for the weekend, I'm delighted to be joined by former Toulouse Saracens and Castres star, and of course, Le Petit Prince, Thomas Castaignède. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Bonjour, hope you're well.
Bonjour. You were involved in many a clash against the Irish during the Six Nations down through the years. How did you view the Irish back then? Because you're billing us as favourites going into this weekend.
Yeah, we respect a lot Ireland, because we always know when we play Ireland, it's always difficult because first of all, I think your national team has improved massively years after years, and it has started in 2000, and in the last 20 years, I think this team is really different than the team we used to play before. I think some of your provincial teams, have really improved. They show on the European scene that they are the one of the best team in Europe and maybe in the world. With Leinster, Munster, Ulster, years after years, and you got some quality in the players. Some are really tremendous. And to be honest, I totally disagree with Philippe Sant-André, and I really believe that Johnny Sexton has a massive impact, on the team, even if I'm pretty sure Ireland can do without him. But I think he brings something special. Every time we played, he was in the team, in the last minute, he scored a drop goal. He made some he had a massive impact, mentally, I think, on the group. And I think he drives the car, and when the driver is not there, you can change him and have a new one. But because I think that's what Ireland will need to have in the next few years. They need to build for the future. And that's really the time to do it. But without him, I think things won't be the same. And I really think that the French team is improving too, and it's going to be very interesting for both teams to know where they are, in that tournament, and where is the situation in the rugby rank, at the moment.
Yes, it's been billed as the Grand Slam decider this weekend. You mentioned Le Drop there back in 2018. We fondly remember it, but you kicked the original Le Drop when it was the Five Nations against England on your debut. Talk to us about that.
Well, it was massive pain for me, to watch France losing against England during so many years when I was a kid, sitting in my sofa and cheering for the French team. So I was lucky enough, to move from my sofa, on the field and to play with some of the players that were my heroes, and to play against England was massive thing in the Six Nations. And on that day, there was Thierry Lacroix was massive kicker for the French team. I don't know why he didn't want to kick that drop goal, and I got the ball in the hand, and I think I was naive enough, to take it, and I was lucky enough, to put it in the middle of the bars. But I think it was a different game at that time, and things have moved, and rugby is so entertaining now to watch. And I think the rules have changed. The players are fitter. The referees, have really improved. So it's really interesting to watch rugby at the time, and the way, the time of the ball is on the field, is so important that, when new players now are real athletes, and it's really enjoyable.
Well, we're hoping for a bit of drama this weekend again. Maybe we won't get the lid drop, but it's a very hostile place to go, Gordon. What are your memories of playing France in the Stade de France?
I've actually really fond memories of playing in France. I don't know. I've always loved the way France play the game, and particularly down in the south in Toulouse, and you see Ntamak obviously bringing that type of approach to the French. But for some reason, now we didn't get the results, but for some reason Ireland usually outplayed or outperformed how we were usually playing at that time. You almost get dragged into a game of rugby, and you start playing some attractive rugby. But I got my first Six Nations match in Paris, and it was just incredible. And I remember walking out onto the pitch, and this, almost a wall of sound hits you from behind when you walk out. And I just remember this is amazing. And I loved it because there's such an energy and vibrancy to the French supporters. It's very different. The music, you've got the cock on the sideline, you've got the bird. So like there's so much happening that it's there's a real spirit to the game, and I've always loved playing there.
What were your coping techniques with drowning out the crowd, or did you try to drown them out or embrace it?
Again, one of the good things about playing France is you don't have time to look at the crowd. Mm-hmm. You're if you're in the game, you're fighting to stay in the game. So every minute or every bit of your attention has to stay there. I've drawn once, and we won in 2014. Like in 2014, the very last play of the game, Dave Carney forced a forward pass, and they scored a try, and then the TMO ruled the pass forward. So, the great thing about going to France is if you take your mind off the game, they will just steamroll you over the they just steamroll over you. They've such a big, powerful team, and even with this new energetic team that France have, there is an awful lot of big men in there. So your primary focus is you focus on the 15 very big blue jerseys that are up to you. And mostly I was marking Mathieu Bastareaud. So I couldn't take my eyes off him.
Of course. Looking ahead to this weekend, Thomas, Ireland and France are both coming off a win in round one. But how much can we take from France's performance at the weekend?
Well, playing against Italy, it's not easy because, first of all, Italy is a good team. They're not, as bad as their results. They are very aggressive every time they play against us. And I think France are suffering a bit from the English soccer league. When the teams are playing against France, or these kind of teams, they want to show that they are good players because they want maybe to show themselves, and maybe have a good contract, in the French league. So it's always difficult for us. And so from that game, we won it. We had a bonus point, but the game wasn't really entertaining, and the speed of the game wasn't really at the level that we wanted. But that's not, I think, really interesting to speak about that. I think what is interesting is what we're gonna see, on Saturday. And I really think that the French team has massively improved. I think we are one of the team of the future. We have very young players, especially new players are coming into that team. Moefana, we play in the center, replacing Danti. New player, no one know him, you know, and he's not maybe as powerful as Pastaro and who played against Gordon, you know, a few years ago. But he's got some speed. He's quite intelligent. He moves the ball really well. He's got some steps. I think that would be one guy to watch. And of course we got some key players in the pack. But with Dupont, he's really amazing. And I watched him playing for Toulouse in the last 4 years, and he's not only good when he's got the ball in hand, but he's good in the dark job, and he will be good to put pressure on your number on your new number 10. You know, is going to come, and I think what Gordon has seen when he came to France, I think the pressure is there, and we are really pushed by the crowd. And I think to have the crowd now behind us will be a massive thing for us too, because I think everyone wants to cheer. We won against New Zealand in November, and playing against Ireland is playing against the best team in Europe at the moment. So if we manage to win, then I think teams will see us in a different way.
I think they are already seeing you in a different way. And I think it's starting the road to the World Cup for France, definitely, if you win this weekend. We know, you mentioned Dupont, that he can create magic out of nothing. And Villiers scored 3 of France's 5 tries against Italy last weekend. So, Gordon, how do Ireland go about shutting down possibly the most exciting backline in the tournament?
Well, it starts with... up front, really, for both teams, and you can see France have gone for a 7-2 split on the bench, and you know that means they're bringing 7 fresh forwards on, so they know that they have to try and stop Ireland's primary possession. And both teams are playing a possession-based game. They like to keep the ball. They like to attack with the ball, which makes for a great, exciting encounter. The challenge for Ireland is that they have to be very, very effective with their possession, because their whole game revolves around applying pressure to the opposition. So they play this possession-based game. They attack wide. They eat up meters. They get territory, but they have to do that. They have to move the French team around. So the French team, it's built on some big men. You look at Woki and Willemse in the second row, Antonio in the front row. There's some big men in there, tight 5. Ireland have to move them around. They have to make them, they need to see them with their hands on their knees after 20 minutes. They have to be breathing heavy, because that means they're pushing them into an uncomfortable place. And that has to be how Ireland go against the French this week.
So
I think Gordon, you will agree with me. I really found that in the first game, Ireland were much more effective on the rucks, you know, than the French team. And I think discipline wasn't there, you know, for the French team. We really need to improve that. And as you said, keeping the ball in hand and having the ball, you know, would be key, because both teams can wait and can make the other team tired, you know, and they won't score in the first or second phases. They will score after many phases, and the physicality will be very important.
So you reckon, Gordon, that Ireland have to stick to Farrell's game plan, and like we did against Wales, or do we need to be a bit more pragmatic and direct?
I think if we are pragmatic and we are direct, we will lose, and we could lose very poorly, because that's playing into the strength of one of the other strengths that France have. So France are very creative. They're very very creative, driven primarily by Dupont and Tomac at out half, but they were also very, very effective in their maul game against the Italians. So while the weather didn't suit a free-flowing game, what France were able to do was drive mauls and suck the energy out of the Italians, and then they were just too tired to attack. If Ireland play a pragmatic game, they will play into that hands, and they're very, very large hands, and the French will just eat that up. We have to be brave, and there's no way you can go to Paris and not win without being brave.
You spoke a bit last week about Sean Edwards, and he's a world-class defensive coach. What he has done with France is unbelievable. He's made them passionate about defending, as they are about the flair and the panache. How do we go about breaking down their back?
Yeah, the French defense is, a defense is a mindset, and Sean Edwards is, fantastic about getting into people's head. The type of defense they play is that high press, and they like to come up and they like to put pressure on the second wave of attackers. So Ireland do play that very deep second wave. The challenge for Ireland is, as Tomas has said, that we have to play with the quick rucks. And he said Ireland were very efficient with our quick rucks. We have to be efficient with our ruck speed again, so that it's hard for the defenses to shoot up and come up off the line. So if you have players who are at different levels, and say one player is still running back to the defensive line and someone else is ready to go, you create that dog leg, and that would be a good place to be. But if the French manage to slow down our rucks to medium or slow rucks, then Sean Edwards' defense set is very, very hard to play against.
From a French point of view, Thomas, Sexton was obviously the key man. When you remove him from the team, who do you see as having the biggest influence on the Irish game, and who will you be looking to target?
That's hard to say, because I see the Irish team as there are many individualities, but I can see them play as a team. Many players are coming from the Lens team, and this team is so successful. And years after years, we could see that Ireland is really a special team in the world, because they have the global team is so influenced, on the individuals, of course, are very important. And we fought, me, of course, I was looking at the back line that after Humphreys at number 10, after O'Gara, finding a new 10 will be difficult, but Sexton arrived, and he has been there for 10 years. So I'm pretty sure that the one, the one who will take the lead, the next one, we don't know yet who is going to be, but I think that's a good way, to start. But I think, in the back line, I would have thought that Henshaw, would have taken the lead, a bit more, but he had been injured, and Ringrose, is the potential all the time. But I think you're building a new team, and I think your strength is more in the forwards at the moment, because your forwards, I think, are very dynamic. They every time, they have the ball, they create some danger. They don't go straight forwards, they can make some steps going to the defense. They always have an option. You always have an option around the ball carrier. When you watch an Irish game, it looks like a training, because these guys, they are so organized. They're so nothing has it's like very, very predictive. So what I hope is that we have read your game really well. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to send some few missiles, in defense, who will create some disorganization into the Irish team. And I'm pretty sure that if we manage to disorganize, your link between 9 and 10, if we manage to, do some rush defense or alternate rush defense and like normal defense, I'm pretty sure that we can really, really change your minds and change the confidence that the Irish team has. And we spoke about the Sean Edwards, and I'm pretty sure that he knows your strength, but he knows your weaknesses, and unfortunately, I'm pretty sure we will press on that.
Well, you mentioned the forwards there, and the level of skill on show and the interplay between the forwards and backs is just a joy to watch. Is fellow Wexford man Tadhg Furlong just getting better and better, Gordon?
Yeah, and I think the way we're playing encourages forwards to need to pass the ball, but now I think they want to pass the ball, and that's a great place to be. And Tadhg's skill set has been on display for years now, and now we're adding another layer to other very, very, very clear and obvious strengths. But it's coming up across the team. If you're looking at Ronan Kelleher in the like his all-round game has just matured massively. You're looking at Tyg Byrne, his influences in games is unbelievable. Caelan Doris, Jack Coe, like they're all playing so well. But that passing at the line, like Tyg Furlong is passing the ball better than some outside backs in the northern hemisphere, and to say that about your tight head prop it's fantastic. And again, there's so many similarities between the French and the Irish, because you look at like players like Aldrit and Wokey, I'm getting the name wrong for some reason. Wokey in the second row, he passed the ball 7 or 8 times against Italy, and for a second row, you can like they're really high numbers for players to be. That was the same as Tyg Byrne actually, and again, like your two second rows being passing the ball so many times. It's only good for rugby that you're seeing the top teams embrace that type of rugby, because you look at, say, what England were doing, and it's very sometimes hard to watch. So it is. That's why I'm so excited about this game, because there's two teams that are playing such expansive rugby. Not why, but they're moving the ball away from the breakdown as much as possible, which it should sign up for a very exciting game.
Well, we're here with thanks to Chicago Town, sponsors of the takeaway and all our Six Nations coverage here on Balls.ie. And each week we have a jersey and some precious Chicago Town vouchers to be won for you and your friends. So be sure to pop down to Balls.ie and Chicago Town Instagram pages to be in with a chance of winning them. So before we finish up, it's been billed, as I said earlier, as the clash of the tournament. Ireland are in a really great place, but we've been dealt a huge blow without Johnny Sexton. So what kind of game will we see this weekend? Will it be a tight and nervy affair, or are you expecting to see some tries? Gordon, I'll come to you first.
I expect to see tries. There is no other way. The Irish team, I actually think we might be able to turn a silver lining out of Johnny Sexton's injury. Well, we don't have the French can't paint Johnny up now as a pantomime villain, so they may not have anybody to direct all their anger at. But I think from the Irish perspective, the way they're playing, they have to score tries, and they will endeavour to score tries. Will it be enough to win the match? I don't know, but I can see this bringing the best out of the French as well. And I think it'll be too irresistible for them not to get drawn into quite a high tempo, high pace game of rugby. So I think it'll be the championship decider. I am less confident that Ireland are going to win than I was yesterday. But I see a big performance from both teams, and I think Ireland will score tries. Will it be enough? I'm not so sure.
Okay, Thomas, is this the beginning of your road to World Cup glory? What are you expecting?
Well, when you watch this kind of games, I would have done exactly the same analysis as Gordon. But then when I watched the last results, I saw that in the last few games, in the last 10 years, I think the results were really close, and with not so many tries, scored. So I think these teams, can really move the ball really well, but every time they play against each other, they manage to like balance, the weaknesses that they have. And every time they play, it's, even if we expect, some entertaining game with some tries, I don't say that we are disappointed, but I think it goes more like a chess game, than like an entertaining game. So I would say that I would love to have some tries, and I think both teams can really produce, some entertaining rugby, and I'm pretty sure it will be a really good game to watch. But I will see a very nervous, close game, with not really both teams going over 20. So it will be, every point will be very important, and I think the key decision will be, will we kick or will we go to the corner, to score? Because I think the points will be so important, and it will be key until the end. So, but definitely these two teams are maybe one of the, you know, in the best, maybe they are the best team in the world at the moment, and it will be really, really interesting to watch and to see, you know, who can, you know, take the lead on the day. So it will be interesting to watch. But without Sexton, I think it will be much harder for Ireland.
So put your neck on the line there, Thomas. Are you going for a French victory?
Yeah, I'm going for like a 2015, 2016 victory, you know, for France.
Okay, it's so hard to call, but we're all very excited. It surely is the game of the tournament. My thanks to Thomas and Gordon. We're here, of course, in partnership with Chicago Town Pizza, and we'll be back again next week to dissect, we hope, an Irish victory in Paris. Enjoy the game, and allez les verts. Until next week.
No, allez les bleus, allez les bleus.
Merci.